Welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I am Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is the amazing Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing today?
I'm really good. And yourself?
I'm fantastic. I'm excited about today's conversation. What are we talking about today?
So I'm into a quote thing because I've been posting a lot about quotes to start off, my own post. And this one really resonated with me. I believe in yourself and all that you are. Know that there is something inside you that is greater than any obstacle. And that's by Christian D. Larson. And
Mm,
what really resonated about me in that quote is when I work with clients and I say, let's look at how we could help you become more of who you are.
mm,
I think that we all have that resilience within us to deal with any obstacle that comes our way. And it tends to come out when we're in the middle of crisis. We either, it either makes us hide away because we're still even afraid of the strength that's within us to fight something that seems to be overwhelming. However, we do have it within us to surmount any kind of obstacle. And, a lot of people are going through rough times. This week supposedly was the most depressing week of all statistically, which I found really fascinating because, we're at the tail end of winter. People have been in for COVID, then they've been in, well, especially in Canada, where we are because of horrible weather. And it's been up and down like a yo-yo, like freezing rain kind of weather where it keeps you in. And you look at that and how often do we soul search and look deep within ourselves to see what we're made of, our grit. That is the word of the day,
yeah.
what grit keeps you going? And when you're at your lowest, how do you tap into that grit to come to the other side?
Yeah. I think oftentimes people don't actually spend the time necessary to actually look at those kinds of things, to ask themselves, where is my grit? What grit do I have when faced with adversity or some sort of challenge? I had a conversation with a coaching client just recently that was really pretty telling, how they still to this day, despite their success, aren't seeing just how gritty and determined that they are. And we had a conversation about that because they're about to embark on sort of a new adventure relative to their career. And there's obviously trepidation about it. There's a nervousness about what's next and what's coming, because they're leaving something that they were comfortable with, and had finally kind of found their flow, and then this opportunity fell in their lap, and everything's changing, right? And I was talking to her about the fact that when I first started working with her, that was when she had landed in the other opportunity, and everything was new and everything was scary, and there was this sense of unknown. And just how impressed I was by her ability to embrace that at the time, and to really lean into that process of learning and building the relationships she needed, and figuring out how to really start to differentiate herself. And the fact that we had to find a little bit of her confidence at that point to say, this is why you were hired. This is why you got recognized. This is why they need you on this team. And it's funny that you're using the word grit, because that grit and determination that she had in that moment to really kind of take that job opportunity and make it her own was something that I think she was so busy focused on doing that she didn't take the time to recognize it. And so as we were having this conversation, I reminded her of that situation. And I said, and this is just a same ability, that you're going to apply just in a new environment. And it was kind of like an eye opener for her, because she really hadn't taken the time to really celebrate in her own mind all that she had gone through, all that she had experienced, and really how much of a contributor she was really from the get-go. And that's from deep inside her, knowing that she could do it, and that if they, didn't think she could, she was going to show them. And so it's interesting that we talk about this, because I think a lot of times until someone kind of puts the mirror in front of the face and says, look at what you've accomplished, look at what you've done, look at all the adversity maybe, or the challenges that you've had to overcome, and just how special that is, and how inspirational it is to the rest of us that get the front row seat to see it. And so, that's what comes to mind when I think about this. The other thing that comes to mind is looking at you as my co-host, right? All that you've gone through with, various challenges in your life. I mean, you had a tornado land on
Yeah.
your house. I mean, and every time I talked to you, you were always positive and upbeat and focused, what's next and how are we going to get this done? And there was never a sense or attitude of why me, or, oh my gosh, this is just too big a challenge to land on my plate. You just kept doing it. And how much that grit and determination really impressed me during that time. But knowing you as I do didn't surprise me, but it is something that, that's a major life upheaval. And you were able to take that on with no qualms. And it was very impressive.
Thank you for that. I'm not so sure about the no qualms business. I did realize early on that I needed to create a very strong relationship with my contractor,
That always helps.
because it didn't start off, with a bang, I'll tell you. And, I said to him, you could partner with me because I am your client. It's not the insurance company. They give me the check. I'm the one who pays you. So you could either partner with me and get this job done really well, or redo things because you made decisions without consulting me. And I'm the homeowner. Like this is not going
This
to
is mine. Yeah.
work well. So which would you prefer? Redoing things, which is going to cost you double the money because you'll only get paid for what I'm choosing for you to do. Or are you going to partner with me? We'll consult and then get it done once, which will take you less time and less money. He says,
Yeah.
I'll go for the second door.
Door number
So
two, please.
that's right. And we did, we had a really good relationship because of that. Um, you know, each trauma in my life set me up for the next one, as strange as that sounds. I had just been through cancer and cancer treatments before we were hit by the tornado. And so if I could survive the cancer, the tornado, yes, hit my house and my office. Um, it could be rebuilt.
Yep.
That's it. It could be rebuilt. Now, the little caveat to our listeners, before you get hit by a tornado, and I hope you never are, or a derecho, which we had this past summer or fall. I
Wait,
can't
what's
remember
that?
the
What's
dates.
that? What's that term that you just used? Draco?
Derecho. I never heard of a derecho until it hit our city. It was 100-kilometer long straight form tornado.
Oh,
So in
wow.
other words, like a tornado is a twister. So
Yep.
it touches down and it pops back up and then touches down and pops back up. So the level of devastation is not usually as big as
Hmm.
a derecho. A derecho is the same strength winds, but like a freight train. And it just keeps going and going and going. And it was literally 100-kilometer long corridor that took out a lot of our hydro system, like our power
Wow.
system, our power grid. And they were, working not just we had 6 tornadoes the day our house was hit in our city, which is unheard of as well.
Jeez.
So there was a lot of repair that had to be done, but this was almost a whole city taken out, like the power grid. So they were
Wow.
extraordinary, and you had to be patient because you didn't have internet and a refrigerator, and your food was going bad, and all of of what that entails. So you look at all of these traumas. The thing is, neither, and then I was hit by cancer again after we rebuilt from the tornado. Um, None of these things took me out,
Yeah.
and I wasn't going to let it take me out without a fight. I mean, the tornado you have no say in, or the
Well,
derecho.
I'm pretty sure any tornado that meets you is like, oh, well, no, I'm going
There
around.
you go. I had media coming and interviewing me in my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle T-shirt because that's all I seem to have available to me, which is what I paint in. And I'm on CBC radio, TV, and I'm in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle T-shirt. This is just very professional looking, but anyway. Um,
Wait,
it,
no,
it,
are you serious? You were on a teen. You were wearing that shirt?
that's what I had. I mean, I was literally digging through rubble to
Oh
see
my
what we
God.
had. I wasn't going to be wearing my work clothes, and
Yeah.
we're on a corner, so of course they would stop to talk to me. And I'm known by the media from all the work I used to do, especially in the political realm. So Donna, like, how are you, and what did you experience? And I'm going, I'm wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle T-shirt, and they were just cracking up as they're looking at what I'm wearing. But that didn't take me down either. It was just something we could laugh about. It was, you look at what is inside you. There is so much strength in each and every one of us. And we tend to look outwardly, not inwardly. That's why I love this quote.
Yep.
It's to help us look inwardly as to what are we made of, and what we're made of is way bigger than anything that's going to be thrown at us, no matter what. And you might not think about it in this moment in time when you're dealing with cancer or having your house demolished by a tornado, any of that stuff. However, you're surviving it, and you are more than just that situation, illness, whatever. There's a lot more to you than just the cancer, or there's a
Yeah.
lot more to you than the damage that your house is, it has taken on. So look at that, not only the trauma, but what's inside you to deal with it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. It's we are far more resilient than we often give ourselves credit for, and when you look at, I think and I say this often when we bring up these points, but they're really valid. When you start asking these questions, and then you look back at the timeline of your life where things looked really bleak in the moment, there were real challenges. I was listening to just a short video from Tom Hanks when he was talking about how he moved down from the San Francisco, Oakland area when he first was getting into acting. And he was given direction by his agent at the time where to go and what to, what to try out for, right, or audition for, and how scary and challenging that was in that time. But he landed a show uh, in the early 80s called Bosom Buddies. And it was just this really, sort of unique, show that was kind of the beginning of his career. And he said, you look at these, these situations that evolve, and, you go back, and he said, we ended up getting on this show. We were right after Mork and Mindy, which was just a huge hit. We
Love
had
that.
this
Yeah.
natural come along with the audience. The show worked, and he said we got in about 6 episodes, and then there was the writer strike. And he said, at the end of the day, you look back and you think about, well, we don't know if this show's going to make it. We don't know if we're actually going to come back. We don't know how long the strike's going to be. And I'm sort of kind of adding a little bit of detail, but the point being is that he looked back and he said, that was a time in his life where he could have almost given up because, the checks stopped coming. He'd moved down to Hollywood and, needed the money and was desperate to, he's a brand new actor, so he doesn't have any real means by which to live. And he said, I look back and that was a moment, a moment, to, know that when those checks stop coming, gosh, do I go home? What do I do? And you look at those things, and it just struck me as, gosh, what if Tom Hanks had quit? and,
Yeah.
and he was saying it wasn't, in the grand scheme of the video interview that he was on, wasn't talking about life's milestones. But it's funny we're talking about this because as you look back at all of the things that you've come through, all of the challenges that seemed insurmountable at the time or just devastating at the time, how you somehow found a way to systematically find your way through it. And sometimes it wasn't the best outcomes. Sometimes it wasn't always the way we wanted things to work out, but you got through. And that's that grit and determination that we're talking about. And I think when you look back on your life and you literally just take a clean sheet of paper and you start looking at all these things that have occurred, big and, the good and the bad milestones and really what they've done, the good fuels you for the times that are bad. And the bad should be a reminder right now that, look, I made it through that. I can make it through what's ever next, for my life right now. So I think those are important things to really consider as you're considering this topic specifically.
I'm thrilled that you brought up what you just brought up, because it just occurred to me that with some of my clients over time, it depends what their history is, what they've lived through, what they're wanting to go and to, and how they view themselves. I do a life timeline, and I'm going to invite our listeners to do that.
Yeah.
So you take like a piece of paper in its landscape form. This is low tech. You're actually going to write. And what you're going to do is start off at the time where you have your first memory. It could be when you're like a little kid. 5 years old usually is where a lot of people start because they remember when they got their first tricycle, or something that was a huge milestone for them, to their present day. Depending on their age, they're going to have markers with every decade, for example, with space in between because you need space to write.
Yep.
Then upwards, on the on that scale, you're going to write what the milestone was, and then you're going to share why it was so impactful to you. Good, bad, like amazing or bad. Not the mediocre stuff, which happens day to day, but the great and the horrible for you. So if it's a 5-year old talking about their first tricycle, it's the first time they had their own mobility, and it almost gave them a sense of freedom, and they were
Yeah.
zooming around all over the place. They couldn't wait to get on that tricycle. That kind of thing. It could be a promotion. It could be when you were fired and least expected it, and then what made you get beyond it? Like, what did you learn? That massive learning curve from that experience, or hit by an illness, and what it showed you, or a tornado, or whatever it was. Everybody has their own milestones that really stick in their mind,
Yeah.
or that perfect time when the whole family was in a perfect space, and what that moment in that timeline meant to you, and you go through it. And what is so powerful about that is you see what you're made of, the grit, the determination, the resilience. You also see those amazing milestones where you were honored, or got an award, or was top of your game, or was in a perfect place of absolute gratitude for what life is bringing you. And those awarenesses and those milestones will help you see a full spectrum of who you are.
Yeah.
It is incredibly powerful because people, as history is further and further in the past, they look at traumas, like they try to push them away and almost romanticize them sometimes,
Yeah.
rather
Yeah.
than be honest in how they look at them. And their successes, those perfect moments, they might celebrate them for a second, and then it's gone, and you're on to the next thing, you're on to the next thing, rather than take a moment and immerse yourself in what did it feel like when you were 30, for example, and you were at the top of your game. How do you bring that feeling to where you are right now? It's an incredible exercise, and I
Yeah.
invite everybody to do it with a partner, so you could share the anecdotes that are around what those milestones are, and then do it for the other person, and you will never forget that exercise, and what came out because of it.
Well, I'll take that exercise one step further, and I'll call that and share one additional thing you can do in those milestone moments. Put a grit meter on it. And what I mean by that is when you look at those milestones, how much grit did it take 1 through 10 to get across that finish line on that milestone? And what you can actually do is start to look at a pattern, right? Well,
Yeah.
this was a 5, or this was a 3, or this was a 10. And the reality is, you look at those things and say, this just tells you how much energy and effort you had to put towards coming through it. And it just gives you this overall score eventually, right? After you look at all your milestone moments, add it all up, divide it by the number of milestones, and you'll see what your true grit score is. This is a great way for you to see what your resilience and what your grit is made of. And it's kind of a fun way to, like you said, map it out, have that conversation, be able to share it with a partner, but really walk away with a sense of, I'm pretty awesome. I'm pretty, I can handle just about anything that gets thrown at me. I'm not asking for anything else to get thrown at me,
Yeah,
but
that's
if it
right.
does, I feel pretty good about the possibility that I can, I can take it on and I'll get through it. And I think that as you do those things, when you do that self-analysis and you look at, just your past history, it's empowering, and it's a motivator for you to realize that there probably isn't anything that is going to completely, take the wind out of your sails, because no matter what, even in the moment when you're stressed and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, you always seem to find a way. And that's a great indicator for just exactly how true that is. So, Donna, this is a great conversation. I'm curious, how could our listeners or our viewers on YouTube get involved and share their observations, their thoughts on this episode, or even maybe offer up some suggestions on topics that they would like us to cover in the future?
The best way is to join our Facebook group, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper. And when you do, not if you do, when you do, and you listen to this episode, I'd love to hear what you think your grit score is.
Yeah,
And then I want you to ask
that's a
people who
great
really
idea.
know you well and ask them, do they agree with the score you gave yourself? Because I can guarantee you they think it's a lot higher. So I would love to hear from you what
That's a
that is.
great
And if you
idea.
have any ideas of, what we could talk about and what you would like to hear and how you've had these conversations, in your life, we would love to hear that.
Absolutely. We'd love that. Well, and I realized I forgot to put our overlay on today. My bad. So anyway, I can't think of everything. But be sure to go to donnacarlin.com, Carlin with a K, or ripplecentral.com for me to learn a little bit more about our individual work and get involved and be a part of this, ongoing conversation that we're doing with Inquiring Minds. And like Donna said, we'd love to hear what you're taking from this, what conversations are being started because of these topics. And, that's the goal behind this show, is to get you thinking, not only with, ways that you kind of approach, things in your own life or in your own career, but how you can start to bridge the power of connection to open up conversations with your own team, your colleagues, your good friends, and your family. So we encourage you to do that. But we'll be back again very soon with another Inquiring Minds episode. But until then, Donna, have a great day.
You too.